Here you go. A latte, no sugar, because you're sweet enough.
Oh, aren't you lovely? Thank you, Angelica. Yes, I think I deserve this.
You do.
Taking the weight off my tootsies, because Tuesday, always a very, very busy morning, because it's Medals Day and the medals dash all over the showground with the RHS.
How was it?
It was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Well, I can't wait to hear all about it later. But here's what else is in store on Medals Tuesday from the RHS Chelsea Flower Show 2022, an event supported by the Newt in Somerset. Frances Tophill brings us the second of her summer stunners.
Today, I'm taking a closer look at a cottage garden classic, the foxglove.
I'll be meeting Siobhan McSweeney, Sister Michael, from the hit comedy Derry Girls. She's a self-confessed gardening novice. Can Chelsea give her some confidence?
And as well as all of that, Toby Buckland will be here with more design tips.
And I'm going to be showing you how to make your garden an entertainment hotspot for a sociable summer.
But first, Medals Day is the most important day of the show for the garden designers and the pavilion exhibitors alike. It's the culmination of their hard work over the past year, or indeed, in some cases, 3 or 4 years. Carol Klein and I joined the RHS as the medals were handed out at the crack of dawn.
On behalf of the RHS, we're delighted to present you with your gold medal.
Can't believe it.
The rain's not going to deter you, is it, today?
I can't believe it.
We have an amazing team. We love them all.
Yeah,
It was a hive mind.
What do you get?
Gold.
Congratulations.
Thank you
Absolutely brilliant. It really is a marvellous display. It's lovely. How many golds are?
This is my second Chelsea and my second gold.
I'm delighted to present you with your silver medal.
Thank you very much. I'm honoured. Thank you.
Boo! Congratulations.
Thanks very much.
Very well done. It's absolutely brilliant.
Congratulations.
What do I need to say?
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks. Happy birthday, Pedal.
Happy birthday. And what have you got as a birthday present for your medal?
A lovely gold medal.
Oh, wonderful. You couldn't have a better birthday present than that,
I get much
could
better
you?
than that.
A 9th gold medal for Andy Sturgeon. Well done, Andy. Where are you? You should have been here. We wanted to give it to you personally, but you can still celebrate in style for the rest of the day.
On behalf of the RHS, I'm delighted to present you with your gold medal. Well done.
Congratulations, Ruth. Can you spare a few words for all the tears and the emotion?
Just thank you, my entire team. We've had an absolute dream team.
Does this one mean as much as the very first gold medal that you got?
It means more.
Does it?
Yes.
Why? Tell us
Because
why.
it's number 19.
On behalf of the RHS, Tom, we'd like to present you with your gold medal.
That face says it all.
James, we did it.
Great.
Oh, I can't tell you how pleased I am.
We'd like to present you with your silver gilt.
Oh,
Congratulations.
Thank you. Danny, where's my hug?
Yeah, I like Daddy's looking at me first.
On behalf of the RHS, I'm delighted to present you with your gold.
Hug everybody in the grounds, and I'm going to let you
Who else
celebrate.
wants a hug?
I'm on the Boodles Travel Garden, which showcases some of the most beautiful and unusual plants in the world with its creator, Tom Hoblin. Welcome, Tom, and congratulations on your gold medal. Has it sunk in?
Not yet. I mean, it was only an hour ago that I won it, and I really haven't had time to kind of take it on board. I mean, I phoned my wife and everyone like that, but I need to sort of sit down and take this in because it's just, I mean, I came here 12 years ago, and, you know, it's my first gold for years, so I'm so thrilled.
And now I'm interviewing you.
Yeah,
so it's
I
all
know,
happening,
I know,
isn't it?
I know.
But this garden is absolutely beautiful. So let's talk about the inspiration for it.
Yes, so it's to celebrate a journey done by the founding chairman of Boodles, Anthony Wainwright. It's 60 years ago. He went around the world in 16 days, which is no mean feat in those days. And so they asked me to sort of represent this in the form of a garden, but rather than try and do all parts of the world, I just focused on the sort of his Far Eastern leg. So the whole garden's got a bit of a sort of Far Eastern, it's almost sort of Zen-like feel to it.
Yeah, it really does. So let's pick out some of the things and features you put in, because there's a table and chairs, which are really cute, and you can tell that's that influence from that part of the world.
Yeah, it's sort of Chinese noodle bench, it's inspired by, but it's made in the UK by a sort of master craftsman in Lincolnshire out of wood from ash dieback. Actually had to be felled because of ash dieback, and he made this wonderful bench and table out of it. And he did sort of shusugi ban, which is that burning of the wood, but then he pickled it with vinegar to bring out the sort of chestnutty hue in it.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. I'm really loving the water and how it ripples. Let's talk about that and how you achieved it.
Yeah, well, that was a tough one. I had this wonderful water chap called Bamba who I told him my idea, and he said, we need to go and cast sand ripples on West Wittering Beach. So we literally made 9 casts of different sand ripples when the tide went out, and then made them into these molds, which we could sort of cast. I think there were 9 different sort of patterns.
Yeah.
And it's just getting the flow of water right, so it constantly ripples. Obviously, you know, the river represents journey, you know, from going around the world, and that was it. So yeah, it worked really well.
I love that. I used to go to West Wittering Beach with my children when they were little. But if you want to create this sort of courtyard feeling at home, what could you do?
That's a really good point, because obviously I've made this to be a real garden, and it is going to go into a real garden after this. So, but if you notice, I've got quite a few stumps celebrating the sort of Victorian stumpery era. Yeah. But also I've got little small logs. So even if you just find a nice piece of wood, and I've got some sort of what's called epiphytic plants that like to grow on wood. It's like mosses and lichen, but also I've got Aracema and Polygonatum and things. And you can just plant up a log, and literally in no time at all it will look really beautiful.
I particularly love this path. It's wonderful. I love the colour. Tell me a bit about it.
It's a limestone, and I chose it because it's got really good fossil content, and I wanted to have this sort of air of rusticity, like my wall with the ferns and the stone. So I had it acid etched, so it's slightly rough. And it's very, quite comfortable to walk on in bare feet and things. So it turned out really well. And also you don't want it too white, because of course it would show up all the marks.
Yeah,
like that.
It's really classic. It's got a classic feel. It's just a wonderful garden. I can see why you got your gold. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, from a garden with an international flavour to a quintessentially British classic bloom. Here's Francis and today's Summer Stunner.
Once thought of as old-fashioned, but now the height of sophistication in garden design, the Foxglove is making a real resurgence at this year's Chelsea. They offer so much to a cottage garden scheme with height, structure and colour, so it's no wonder they're this year's must-have. Aren't they gorgeous? Now, our native foxglove is Digitalis purpurea, and it usually grows in heathlands or woodlands, slightly acidic soil, and usually slightly shady positions. So it's really good if you have a problematic shady spot in your garden. They flower from about May through to September, depending on where you are in the country, and they need a period of cold to initiate that flowering. They're biennials or short-lived perennials, which means once they finish flowering, they tend to die and go to seed. But don't worry, because they do seed themselves all over the garden. This is the foxglove flower in all of its glory. In the first year, you'll see a little rosette of leaves, and then after a cold winter, it will throw up this spike. And on it, individual tubular-shaped flowers, which really, really guide bees in. You can see the speckled throat here acts like a landing strip for bees and pollinators. Now, of course, these are perfect to evoke that cottage garden feel, but that doesn't mean they're only for rural gardens. In fact, in city gardens, where pollinators need all the help they can get, these are perfect for bringing that little bit of the British countryside into your own backyard. And here on the Botanic Nursery stand, you can see the whole array of different colours available. Now, of course, your classic foxgloves are usually purple, right through the pinks and into whites, but there are some more unusual colours. Things like this is limoncello, it's a hybrid, and it's really beautiful, zingy pale yellow. There are also primroses, and later in the season you get bronze-coloured ones as well. Now, generally speaking, foxgloves like partial shade, but some need sunshine. So if you have a sunny garden, this might be the one for you. This is called Silver Fox, and it's actually a hybrid using a native Portuguese foxglove, which is why it can cope with that heat. It's lower than a normal foxglove. You can see the flower spikes aren't hugely tall, and it has silvery, furry foliage, which is always a really good indication that it needs to be in the sun. This also has a silver leaf and a slightly furry leaf. This is just an adaptation to hold on to moisture and cope with heat. The lovely thing about this is you can also deadhead it. Unlike most foxgloves, if you cut the flower spike off, that's kind of the end, whereas this, you can already see new flowers forming down the stems. If you just chop this one off and the flowers have gone over, you'll have flower for a much longer season. And in a small garden, that's really important because it gives you a chance to really maximise your flower power. Like a lot of our native wildflowers, foxgloves actually have a use as well. They're used in pharmaceutical medicine for heart conditions. And just for that reason, I always let them grow on my allotment because I find anything that has botanical interest really fascinating. Although I don't actually use them, and you never should, because the compounds in foxgloves that make them useful for medicine are highly poisonous. So never eat them. But it's just nice to know they have some added value besides their beauty.
Over the last 2 years, we've really come to value our gardens as spaces to entertain friends and family, and for a while, they were the only space we could meet them. With that in mind, Toby Buckland has been scouring the showground for ideas that will transform your garden into the entertainment hotspot of your neighbourhood.
Chelsea's always packed with ideas to help us rethink our gardens, and not just for plants, but for people. And I've seen a few that could help you make your garden the life and soul of the summer party. This is the Meta Garden, and what a fantastic place for entertaining. The design is sunken, and that's always a good trick for creating privacy. And right at the centre is this beautiful honeycomb timber dome. Now, what I love about this is it has plenty of views out, but as you go in, there's just enough cover to change the timbre in your voice. Makes it feel so much more private and intimate. Oh, and the furniture. Someone's been busy with the sander. You want to touch this almost as much as you want to sit in it. Let me tell you, it's very comfortable. Wait, what a place for a powwow with friends, with the busy world well beyond the borders. You chat away while the stream babbles by. It's fabulous. But of course, the garden has to entertain all the family, and that means the younger gardeners too. And the Urban Foraging Station has some brilliant ideas to do just that. This is really neat. This is a forager's wheelbarrow, and it's built for children. At one end, there's a collection of kitchen utensils. In the middle, there's a sink so you can wash your homegrown food. And at the far end, there's a cooker. The kids will cook up a storm here, and of course, when it comes to entertaining, food is what makes the good times great. And over here we have a group of plants that will elevate any meal, whether you're entertaining or otherwise. It's a smorgasbord of herbs growing in this topsy-turvy concrete pathway. We've got sorrel here, superb in salads. We've got thyme, a robust flavour for roasts, and easy peasy mint, perfect for mocktails and mojitos. But if you're entertaining on a grand scale, you're going to need space. And Joe Swift's garden is designed to accommodate 50 revellers. The centre of it, well, it is big, but the party vibe isn't lost because of the clever design of the paving. You see, it's set out to resemble a bumblebee's wing, but these large concrete slabs are perfect for pockets of people. And between each one, there are ribbons of water or ribbons of gravel. And in the gravel, self-seeders are spread about, softening the whole look. And this is another neat trick. Integrated seating is always a good space saver. And Joe's comes with a homegrown scatter cushion of herbs. And finally, I don't know if Joe's thought about this, he calls this his water feature, but I think it'd make a brilliant outdoor drinks chiller. That would be an entertaining feature.
Joining me today is actress Siobhan McSweeney, Sister Michael from the hilarious TV comedy series Derry Girls, and of course presenter of the Great Pottery Throwdown. Siobhan, welcome to Chelsea. Your first time, I believe.
Chelsea Virgin, right here in front of you. Be gentle with me.
Oh, it's not often we can say that in life, is it? It's not often, but you are in for such a treat. Now, I've got to say, first of all, congratulations on Derry Girls.
Thank you.
But, you know, an amazing series, but we've got to talk about your gardening while we've got you here.
Or my lack of gardening.
Well, are you a passionate gardener? Shall we start off like that?
I think my passion exceeds my abilities. I live in a central London flat, so I don't have much access to outdoor space. I have a little balcony. I don't even call it a balcony. It's so small, it's only a balcony. And I put a few pots out there and I watch them die. It's a morbid hobby, but one day I hope that it will literally bear fruit.
Well, I'm hoping we might be able to help with that in some way.
Oh, wow.
But what is your sort of inspiration for gardening then? Did it start as a child?
Oh yes, I grew up in the countryside in Cork. My parents were avid gardeners. Like they would read they would read brochures for seeds and everything. But I must admit, it was only that when I was much older that I realised that you actually had to pay for plants, because every weekend we'd go for a drive and I'd be sent over a wall to get a cutting and then jump back over the fence and go back into the car. But and we had a beautiful, and still have a beautiful garden, but my brother is now in charge of the garden at home, and he's gotten really into it, and it's really lovely to see actually. He's a huge fan of this show. He doesn't watch Derry Girls or Pottery, but he'll watch this show.
Oh really?
So hi Tio, where are you?
Well, yeah. I'm hoping he's going to be impressed with you a little bit later on today, young lady.
I hope so.
Because now, how can I put this politely? I've been thinking, how can I word it? I don't know how. So, looking on socials, during lockdown, you attempted to grow your own, we're going to call them vegetables, but it didn't go quite according to plan, did it? Now, tell me about your tomatoes. They are tomatoes, aren't they?
I mean, possibly. I don't know. I tried many things. Lockdown was a difficult time for us all, I think. We did need the added complication of trying to keep plants alive. I had friends who gave me, my friend Neve, she gave me like little tomato plants that she'd grown from seed, and I killed them. And then I planted radishes.
Now, these look like weeds. I am so sorry. That is quite rude, I know, but I didn't realise they were actually radishes.
I'm not sure that they're actually not weeds.
Oh, okay.
Like, I mean, they could have been...
A new variety?
A new variety of radish, where the radish is a figment. It's conceptual art, actually. You have to imagine the radish.
You were successful with your cucumelons.
Cucumelons.
What are those?
No idea.
OK, we're going to find out today. Why don't you go and ask, because we have done something very special for you. We have organised for the first time, I hope you're excited, a masterclass in growing vegetables on a balcony.
Oh, really?
There is the most incredible designer on the balcony gardens over there waiting for you to help you grow your veg, make it successful, and we're hoping edible at the end of it as well. Are you up for the challenge?
Absolutely. That sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
Really?
Okay. Yeah, definitely.
Oh, I thought I was just going to be laughed at over my cucumelons.
No. You can enjoy the grounds, a little bit of hard work, and then we'll see how you get on a little bit later on.
That sounds wonderful.
Best of luck.
Thank you.
Oh, I love Derry Girls, and Siobhan is certainly in the right place for help with her balcony gardening trials and tribulations. Now, here's what else we've got coming up. Chris Bavin reveals the winners of the hotly contested floristry competitions. I'll be getting a masterclass in herbs for a summer bar, world-renowned herb farmer and author Jekka McVicker. And we'll reveal the winner of the award for Best Balcony and Container Garden. Now, next up, if you're confused about colour combinations, and I'm not talking about fashion, then worry not, because Carol Klein is on hand as she works her way through the colour wheel to help us pick the perfect plants.
Yesterday, we looked at the use of complementary colours, the colours which are opposite each other in the colour wheel. But today, we're going to look at a very different way of putting colours together. It's extremely popular. It's the use of harmony. And how about this for a harmony? Yellow and green sit next door to one another on the colour wheel. And of course, yellow is one of the constituent parts of green, so they're almost bound to go together beautifully. Here you've got Trolleus culturum alabaster with these pale, pale yellow globes. And here, a little geum, much brighter and more vivid yellow. This one is called Geum Alabama Slammer. It's a big name for a very dainty little plant, really. Of course, most plants have green leaves, but such a variety, such diversity within those greens. And nothing illustrates that better than these glorious, great big leaves of this hosta. It's called sage. And look, it's got a little yellow trim to its leaves too, which picks up the yellow from here. I think it's just a glorious combination. Easy on the eye, never going to clash, but so full of interest. Further around the stand, this lovely harmony continues with green and yellow. This time, this is a geum called Totally Tangerine. And look how it twinkles right the way through. Look at this froth of pink. This is a double ragged robin. It's called Lychnis floscuculi Petite Jenny. Well, pink is actually a form of red, but here that red is so pale as to be soft and glorious pink, and it works perfectly with the green in a harmonious way, especially when it's picked up on the leaves of this ajuga, burgundy glow. Absolutely perfect. Here we have three colours which are side by side in the colour wheel. Red, blue, and the colour between them purple, but not necessarily in the way we usually see them. Dark and mysterious. Centre of the show, this lupin masterpiece with these glorious deep purple flowers, but in between, crimson petals, reflected also in the astrantia and the Theasium rivulariata purpureum, big purpley thistle. And then the blue is taken up by the iris in the background. And it's this plant that ties together the whole arrangement here. It's an Actaea. It's called Actaea simplex brunette, with these dark leaves and these very deep stems. It really does complete the harmony. But tomorrow we're going to be doing something completely different. We're going to chuck out the rule book and go crazy with colour.
Oh, thank you, Carol. We love colour. I'm practising what you preach. Now, if anyone knows how to match colours, it has to be the florists. And Chris Bavin is on the other side of the pavilion to reveal the winners of this year's floristry competitions.
I am constantly amazed at the talent, creativity and artistry that goes into these floristry exhibits. There are two categories, floral windows and floral installations, and each category has two themes that the florist can choose from. Let's take a look at some of the entries. The Tranquility of the Woodland by Mary Jane Vaughan, themed around forest and flora, may look like a complete tree, but in fact it's been made out of bits of bark and willow. Wild Melody by Acacia Creative Studio is a tablescape that's right up my street, with flowers, fruit and veg growing through the wooden table. In the window category, Ode to Khotan by Victoria Gager is a modern still life arrangement. Also in the windows category, The Cycle of Life by Stacey Josephine is an invitation to us all to get planting and growing. The winner of the installation category was Dimitri Turkin. His tablescape is called Whispering Hearts, and I can see why it really stirs the emotion. And winner of Best Flora Window is this exhibit designed by Jen Belcher, who's with me now. Jane, huge congratulations. How did it feel to win?
Thank you so much. I'm amazed. I can't quite believe it. Yeah.
Not quite sunk in yet.
Not quite sunk in, no.
And what were you trying to achieve with this?
The idea behind it was the flavours that bees take to honey, and I wanted to create a wild flower meadow to show that not only do bees pollinate, but they take the flavours back.
Beautiful. And what sort of flowers are enhancing those honey flavours?
They're definitely the red clovers, the chives, and then the colour theme with the blues is just colours that bees like.
So the colours that the bees like, the flavours that they then produce in their honey.
Yeah.
And do you know what I love? It really draws you in, and I think it sort of shows that nature is not only beautiful but quite fragile as well.
It is, yes. Yeah.
Huge congratulations, well done.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Now, with barbecue season just around the corner, we've got some great ideas to make your summer barbecue a little bit special, courtesy of none other than Jekka McVicker, the queen of herbs herself. You don't know how excited I am to be here with you. So many people are like...
That's so kind of you. But for me, it's just so gorgeous to be back at this show.
Yeah.
There's something magical about Chelsea Flower Show, isn't there?
Yeah, you've got a long history with it, haven't you?
25 years, but...
Just saying, hashtag
yes.
just saying. Now, you love herbs, you've got a farm, you have 400 varieties on that farm.
Yeah.
Do you think we need to re-look at the way we use herbs in our daily lives?
We really need to use herbs because herbs can transform a meal into a feast. My grandmother, you see, she used to use herbs in the war to make a very simple meal, like just rice and then masses of herbs, and that was the meal. To go further, and we've got to get into that habit, because if food's going to become that scarce, we're going to really need to know what our grandparents used.
Well, Jackie, you brought along some, different varieties that we might not know.
Yes.
Tell me about them.
Well, this one here, rub the leaf of that and smell. That is that is a Szechuan pepper. That's the Japanese form. Absolutely gorgeous. You can add those leaves while it's young into rice, and then you've got the peppercorns to follow after, and it's the outer casing you eat. This one here, chocolate peppermint, and that you can make the best chocolate mousse with you've ever had. And it tastes like after eights. And this here, that is hot and spicy oregano. No, I'm not going to let you eat that because it'll blow your head off. And that one over there with the beautiful blue flowers, pick a leaf of that. That is the oyster leaf, and that comes from Greenland.
And that could be used with fish or loads of different
It's
things.
absolutely gorgeous. Fish and salads, and it's a real prize now for the big chefs. They love that.
So let's talk about these little recipes we've got.
Well, I've chosen one that anyone can get the herbs from. So things like dill, coriander and French parsley, you can get those in any supermarket. And this is a very simple salsa verde, which you can put in pasta to make pasta taste great, or you can have as a dip, or if you add garlic, right, to it, you can actually crush that and add it. That will tenderize your meat, and you can use that to marinate meat, or you can use it with fish, or you can even marinate vegetables in it and put it on the barbie.
I love it. So you've chopped up the
I've chopped up the dill, coriander and parsley, and I'm going to pop that into the olive oil and the lemon juice.
Right.
And so that simply goes in there. With that, you add a zest of lemon. That goes in.
Right.
And then you can leave this out or not. That's up to you, but I like it. This is some walnuts, 4 walnuts, and a pinch. Thank you very much. A pinch of salt. And then, Maestro, over to you to give it a whiz. And ladies and gentlemen, this is all you've got to do is whiz it up. It does take a bit of time, especially...
But you get the gist, don't you? Everyone gets the gist.
Anyway, you get the gist. And here is one I made earlier, and I have left the garlic out because it'll keep in the fridge twice as long if you haven't added the garlic. And this is for you to taste. Also, I didn't want you stinking garlic.
You didn't want me to... Oh, you're thinking of me, and this is what the consistency it looks like. I'm going to have a little taste. That's lovely. Oh, right, we've got 30 seconds to show
30
us
seconds,
this.
right.
This is amazing.
This, I have made a purple basil syrup, right? Equal parts, sugar, water, onto the heat,
Stirring, make sure it doesn't crystallise around the sides.
Exactly that. Let it cool slightly, add the leaves of purple basil to it. This is one I did at home last night, so I could show you what it looks like. Smell that. Ooh, looks like that. And then I'm going to make you a drink so that you can have a toast for this very beautiful weekend we've got coming up. I love it. The Jubilee.
You make that. Now, earlier on the show, Nikki met actress Siobhan McSweeney, who's been trying to grow edibles on her balcony. Now, we sent her to meet designer Will Murray on his balcony garden, which is all about growing edibles in a small space. Could he solve her gardening dilemmas? Have you got that drink ready, Jekka?
I have got that drink coming.
Let's go.
Here we go. And to you.
And to you.
Cheers.
That's delicious.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you so much for having me here, for trying to instill some sort of balcony wisdom into my head. I can't believe I'm going to get a masterclass in how not to kill my balcony plants. Now you have here, you've got some mustard, some rocket, some coriander and some radishes. Now radishes are the bane of my life. I've spent too much of my life trying to grow them. I get them to this point.
Yeah.
But then the radish doesn't come.
Your radishes weren't too bad, they were just probably picked a bit too early. So you actually were quite successful at growing a microgreen, a micro radish.
Oh, I see. So these are edible.
Microgreens. They're edible like this, so don't worry about your radish. Eat it as a microgreen, and
radish
then you've already been successful. Radishes are usually one of the most easiest things to grow, but
right.
we'll skip past that. They're usually quite quick.
And I see my old nemesis here, the tomato, the cherry tomato.
Yeah.
I also didn't grow them very well.
You need a sunny spot for a tomato. Like this one's ready to go on, potted up into a bigger pot, but
can you grow them inside?
no, you wouldn't want those inside. They do need a lot of light.
So what else can I grow? I've got my microgreens, my tomatoes. What's over here?
Oh, well, why don't you start with a runner bean? Our old friend, the runner bean. You can't really go wrong. Super easy to grow, satisfying, grow quite fast. You could grow it up your railing.
And they need a lot of water and a bit of sunlight?
They need water, make sure they've got enough sunlight and you'll be fine.
I'm really taken aback by seeing trees here, actually. Look at this, you said that this is
It's an apricot tree.
And this could be grown on a balcony?
Yeah, it would depend where your balcony is, on your aspect, but yeah, perfectly possible.
Yeah, so we can grow trees in pots?
Yeah, absolutely.
I see down here you're growing potatoes in pots?
Potatoes, yeah, they're one of the easiest things to grow in a container.
Are they? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm off to, confirm my national stereotype and grow potatoes.
Yeah, give it a go. I'm sure you'll do fine. You can't go wrong.
I'll keep you posted. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
There's something for everyone at the Chelsea Flower Show, no matter how much or how little space you've got. This morning, the RHS awarded top prize of Best Balcony and Container Garden to Jane Porter for the Still Container Garden.
I have a lovely surprise for you, Jane. I am delighted to present you with the Best Balcony and Container Garden for the Still Garden. Many, many congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Well done. It's so beautiful. And that garden in front of that rock face is beautiful.
Thank you so much.
And I'm delighted to join Jane on her award-winning garden. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
You must be thrilled.
I am absolutely stunned, and still, it hasn't sunk in at all.
Well, as I'm standing here, tell me about your inspiration for the Still Garden.
Well, it really comes from being born in Scotland and wanting to bring a piece of Scotland to Chelsea.
I mean, this wall alone is just incredible, but it brings a real warmth to the garden.
It's set vertically like the harbour walls on the Western Isles. I saw them last year for the first time and was really taken by them. And all the stone is from a disused quarry in Perthshire. And we had it shipped down and set like this by dry stone maulers. And they really give the garden weight, I think.
It does. But also the high trees, the planting, a little bit of Scotland in Chelsea. an award-winning garden in Chelsea. But what I really love about these containers and the balcony gardens is we can achieve a little bit of this magic at home, can't we? How easy would it be for me to do that?
Well, it's all about having containers that are as big as your space can handle so that the plants are happier. And the really nice thing you can do with containers, and what my inspiration was drawn from, was you can choose the soil, which means you can choose whatever you would like to grow. So for instance, this is an ericaceous setup really with the heathers. They love an acid soil, whilst I've also put in some coastal plants to represent the highlands and islands. And that means that different soil, different plants, and you can create different vignettes within the garden in different containers, but next to each other.
It's beautiful. Well, a huge congratulations. We can achieve this at home. And also, let's not forget, if we're renting or moving around, we can take the containers with us. A portable garden at the same time. Jane, well done. Enjoy the rest of the week here at Chelsea.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Now it's time to join James Wong as he explains how to get the best out of our plants that have adapted to life without much water.
All plants need water to carry out the miracle that is photosynthesis. But in some parts of the world, getting hold of enough of the stuff can be a real challenge. And even if you have enough moisture, there's the constant problem of it evaporating off. So this normally happens through these tiny pores in plants' leaves, which they breathe through, called stomata. So if you're a drought-stressed plant, a really easy temporary fix is just to abandon your leaves. But some species have played the long game, and cacti are a really classic example of that. Their ancestors, millions of years ago, were great, lush, leafy specimens. But over the passage of time, they've abandoned their leaves almost entirely. And they're now so good at water conservation that one of the key ways to kill them is watering them too much, particularly when they're not in active growth, which means during the winter. So some professional growers won't water them at all between October and March. The curious thing is, not all plants with drought-tolerant adaptations actually come from arid climates at all. Ironically, some come from the depths of tropical rainforests. But the niche in which they grow is not in water-retaining soil on the ground below, but on the branches of trees, which can get really wet with a passing rainstorm, but then can be really dry for extended periods between. The way orchids get over that is to essentially hold their breath. They close the pores in which they breathe through during the heat of the day and only open them up in the cool of the night. And the brilliant thing about orchids is many will actually give you a color-coded guide of when to water them, simply by looking at their roots. When they're silver or white like this, they could do with a drink. You dunk them in a sink for a few minutes, and when they turn green, it's a sign they've had enough. Tillandsias come from the exact same habitat as many orchids growing on branches of trees in the Americas. They even have the same breath-holding strategy, but they also have these trichomes. They're this tiny filamenty fuzz that sits along all of their leaves. And what this does is it combs the moisture and nutrients they need from the air itself, hence their common name, air plants. Now, there are two strategies on how to water these. Either you can detach the whole thing and you can dunk it in a bucket of water till it turns green and then dry it off, or you can simply spritz the whole thing with a bottle of water. Now, I prefer the spritzing technique because I think it gives you better airflow afterwards and it allows the plant to properly dry out, which prevents it from rotting, but you do what works for you. And at the other end of the drought-tolerant scale come these carnivorous Sarracenia plants, which require their roots to be flooded with water at all times. And a really specific type too. They require rainwater. The nursery that's grown all of these up in Yorkshire has even had to bring their own to Chelsea. And that's, I think, one of the most incredible things about plants. Their huge diversity, fulfilling almost every biological niche on the planet.
It's nearly the end of the show, but before we go, it's time for the Chelsea Clinic, where we answer your gardening questions. Joining us today is Mark Lane in the hot seat, and we've come inside because it looks like it could be pouring with rain at any moment.
Very dark out there, isn't it?
Good. Are you feeling the pressure?
Yeah, I am. But
Good.
I'm loving it.
Good,
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
Angelica, over to you.
Yeah, we're going to go to Debbie. I'm going to put my arm around Debbie. She's a little bit nervous. But she set herself a massive challenge, Mark. Tell him.
How do I design my garden from scratch?
How do you design your garden from scratch? First of all, you need to take measurements. So take measurements of your garden, and then what you want to do, you want to look at sight lines. And what I mean by that is if you look out your door and you look out your window, those are your sight lines. Draw lines straight out, and that will give you those ideas of where pathways need to go, but also think about the practicalities. So if you've got a shed at the back, or you need to put a mower somewhere, how are you going to get from A to B when it's pouring down with rain and you want to be dry to do it? So think about where pathways need to go, what routes you need to do, and then you can fill the rest in with lawn and with flowers.
There we go. Thank you very much. Sarah Jane Moore on social media's asked, I have a lovely clematis that's full of blooms. It's 3 years old now, and it's only about a foot or so tall. How can I get it higher?
Well, it depends on the actual species of that clematis. So some of them will take about 5 to 7 years to get going, but all I would say is they are really hungry plants. They're really quite thirsty plants, and people really underestimate that. So really start mixing some really good nutritious stuff. So something like chicken pellets or bloodfish and bone, work that into the soil, give it a good water, and then water regularly, sort of twice a week initially, and then just keep it going. And then once you know that you can start things growing, then hold back on that watering and do it once a week.
Okay, brilliant. Brilliant. We're going to go to Ruth now. Firstly, well done to Pam, who made the dress, because you look fantastic.
Thank you.
You're
Yes, you did, Pam.
What's your question?
I don't actually have a garden, but I have a nice outside area with lots of containers.
Yeah.
And I'd just like to know what's the best thing to plant in a container for all year round colour?
For colour. So obviously there are loads of evergreens that you could grow in there, but if you want something for colour which gives you scent as well as sort of fruit, then what about growing something like olives, lemons or limes? Now you will have to bring them in during the winter time, but you can leave them out all summer long, and if you're lucky you can have that fruit. So when you have your gin and tonic, you can cut your own lemon off your tree and put it in your glass.
Perfect. Thank you. Time for one more. Faith Gathergood, great name on social media, says, my box has caterpillar blight. Any chance it'll survive? And what do I need to do to help it?
Oh, it's terrible. It's really decimating the whole thing across the country. There are sprays that you can buy, but you can give them a go, but you've got to just keep an eye on it and just keep checking it. You could cut out all of that part where it's actually been died off, and hopefully it will start to grow back. But if you know that it really looks really bad, then I would just say, unfortunately, dig them up and replace them.
Yeah.
But don't replace them with box.
Go for something else.
Go for something different, something like Ilex crenata, which looks just like box, but it's actually in the holly family. But it has tiny green leaves, and you can trim it exactly the same way as all the others.
Such good
Mark,
answers.
thank you.
Great questions, and also thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
We've enjoyed that today.
Yeah.
But sadly, we're out of time. Keep your questions coming in on our Twitter and Facebook pages. And James Wong will be in the hot seat tomorrow. Thank you very much, Mark.
Thank you.
Yeah. Francis is celebrating the classic climber, the clematis. Chris Babin's got the best new innovations at the show. And we'll be joined by presenter Nikki Fox and her mum.
Monty and Joe are back on BBC Two at 8 p.m. tonight with the full roundup from Medals Day and the most coveted award of all, Best Show Garden. And we'll see you tomorrow at 3:45 p.m. on BBC One. But until then, from all of us,
Bye-bye.
Bye.